Good morning, Cincinnati TV Toastmasters. According to the clock, it is time to get started on our third Saturday TV Toastmasters Club meeting. We are a unique club. We meet once a month on a weeknight, and we meet on the third Saturday of the month so we can accommodate those who would like to join us on the first Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. or the third Saturday at 10 a.m. So I am really pleased to see so many of our members here today, and we have a number of guests. We have an excellent lineup today with prepared presentations, and today I would like to introduce our Toastmaster of the day, and our Toastmaster is a past president and always prepared. She is now the Vice President of Education, and she does an excellent job on making sure that our agendas are filled prior to the meeting and to help us keep on time. So she will be keeping me on time today. So I would like to introduce Veronica Sanford.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay, great. Well, I will say that we have a very exciting event today. We have both Ron Keim, who's going to be giving a really exciting speech on watch repair. And then we also have Dr. Lisa Lee, who's going to be giving a speech about our new Pathways program.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I'm going to be grammarian today, and since we do have some guests here today, I will, in the interest of time, say a little bit about the role. I'm going to be just listening to your speech and keeping track of things like ahs and buts and that kind of thing, which are filler words, which do not add a lot of content to the speech. I'm also going to be looking for positive word usage, especially picturesque words that maybe are especially inspiring. And I'm also going to encourage everyone to use the word of the day. I'm going to tell you what the word of the day is right now, if I can get screen sharing to work here. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so the word of the day is symbiosis, and it has two definitions. It can mean interaction between two different organisms living in close physical association, typically to the advantage of both, or similarly, a mutually beneficial relationship between different people or groups. So I'm going to post this in the chat. I need to I'm going to stop sharing here, and I will turn things back over to our Toastmaster. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, I will say that I believe that our Toastmasters Club is a symbiosis of people. Generally, I have found that people who are Toastmasters either tend to be shy or really outgoing and love to want to rise to the top. So either way, we both deserve compassion. I would now like to introduce our first speaker of the day, Ron Keim. And I will say that, as I said before, Ron Keim is one of our past presidents and really an esteemed member. His speech today is Inside Time, the Hobby of Watch Repair. He has parlayed a career in aviation mechanics and management into retirement hobby, fixing broken watches. Whether you're a beginner with curiosity for tiny gears or a seasoned tinkerer itching to expand your skills, that's a symbiosis. Enter the fascinating world of regularity, rigor, and restoration as Ron shares his knowledge of vintage and modern timepieces. FYI, Ron is a 10 to 12-minute speech, and Jeff is the timer. And once again, we will have a minute of silence at the end of his speech, but do please make note of any interesting tidbits, the things that you really liked. Thank you very much. Off to you, Ron.
Thank you very much. Let me bring up my PowerPoint presentation here. As an introduction, I'd just like to say it's been amazing to me how wearing watches has become a cycle. When they first came out, nobody wore watches, or hardly anybody. Then over time, most people wore watches. And now in America, only about 32% of people wear watches. Worldwide, between 35 and 40%. So let's look through the history here and see if we can see how this all happened. The study of and working on watches and clocks is called horology. So I'm going to give you a horology biography. Watches, the first ones were developed in the early 1500s, and it was in Europe, and it involved from spring-driven clocks that had been around for many years, and they were called clock watches. And they didn't even have a minute hand until about 1686 because of the fact they were so inaccurate. They would lose hours per day, and they were worn around the neck as pendants. They were more jewelry than anything else. And here's some pictures of what they might have looked like. And they're all different kinds of shapes and sizes. And these are just a couple examples. Then men started carrying them in their pockets once they became smaller and had more roundness to them so they wouldn't tear apart the pockets. And that's what you see in this picture here. Over time, especially between the late 1700s and early 1800s, there were many technological advances that really improved the watches and their timekeeping. One of those was, if you've ever had a watch and it said 17 joules or 21 joules, those joules are these little purple things you see here that the axles, if you want to call them that, they're actually called pivots, of the little gears. They fit in little holes in these joules, and they really reduced the friction that was going on because the joules are very hard, just below the level of diamond hardness. So it really improved the timekeeping of the watch, as well as other advances that came along, all the way to the point where they started using minute hands on the watch too, not just the hour hand. Then after that, with more technological advances, they started using a stem and crown to wind the watch and set the watch instead of having a key winding like you see here. You see two holes. The key was for winding the watch and the other hole was for setting the hands. Then railroads were very instrumental in the improvements on watch because they kept hitting the manufacturers of the watches to improve their accuracy, because the times for the people that had the watches on the railroads needed to make sure those trains were staying on time. So they were very instrumental in the improvements done to the watches. Late 1800s was the introduction of wristwatches, mostly for women at the time. The earliest models were basically pocket watch with a strap, but then they started making them very ornate, too much so for men. They felt they were too feminine, so they wouldn't wear them. Here's what one looked like. But in World War II is when the wristwatch really, or World War I is when the wristwatch really became popular for the men, because the military wanted the men to have a watch on their wrist so they could see it readily rather than having to search their pockets, especially if they had synchronized watches and so forth. So they developed a watch that was very robust for the rigors of war. They put these metal cases over them to help protect them and so forth. Then after World War I, the demand for wristwatches for men really exploded. They became a necessity, not a luxury. And the first self-winding watch came in 1923. In the 1950s, electric watches came out. And the balance wheel, that's the little wheel when you look in a watch, the thing that goes back and forth with the real tiny hairspring on it, that's the balance wheel. They were powered by a solenoid or a tuning fork, or by a transistor in the watch that powered or drove the solenoid. You can see a picture there of what they look like, and you can see the, if I can move this. Yeah, here's the inside of the watch, and this is the battery, and this is the balance wheel that they were talking about. Then in 1969, the first quartz watch came out. And for its time, it was the most accurate wristwatch you could buy. There were way fewer parts, a whole lot less expensive to manufacture, and a lot less expensive to purchase. And you can see an example here. This is the movements or the inside of the quartz watches, and this is the movement for a manual wind watch, mechanical watch. So because of these quartz watches, they decimated the mechanical watch industry. Many watch business companies went out of business because of quartz watches, because they were so cheap. Then in 72 came solar powered watches. As you can see in these two, here's a solar cell here, and here's a solar cell on this one. They were far ahead of their time, and because of their minimal maintenance and their reliability, they're still popular today with a lot of people. Radio control watches came on board in 1990, and they matched the accuracy of an atomic clock. And if anybody knows anything about atomic clocks, they are extremely accurate. And here's a couple pictures for an analog and a digital one. Then the atomic wristwatch had the accuracy, when that came out in 2013, had the accuracy of only staying within 1 second every 1,000 years. And there's a couple pictures there. Then the smartwatches that so many of us know about nowadays came about. First one was in 1998, and it could do a few things. It could run different applications. It could connect to a PC. And this is what the first ones looked like. But then today, they track health patterns. They can alert you when you have incoming text or emails. They sync to various applications and can use them as cell phones. For those that remember Dick Tracy days, it's come to fruition. And there's a couple examples there. Then we get into the watch repair end of this. I'm not going to go through each and every one of these. This is a minuscule amount of tools and equipment and supplies that are used in watch repair. I'm just going to talk a little bit about these. These various items here are things that are used for taking the movement out of the case, and then the movement goes into what's called a movement holder. Once it's in the movement holder, then these tools are used to start taking the entire watch movement apart, all the little gears, or if it's a quartz watch, all the electronics that are in it, and then they're put into little containers like this. And it might take a couple of them, but it doesn't, they're so small that most of it fits in one of those little things. And then they're put in cleaners. This is a watch cleaning machine. This is an ultrasonic cleaner. And sometimes the watchmaker might use what's called pegwood to scrape some of the major stuff off the watch before they put it in the cleaners. Then if there's, once it's cleaned and been inspected with the microscope, then if there's any repairs need being done, this is again just a minuscule number of things that can be used for making repairs. There's multiple times more than what you see here. Once the repairs are done, then the watch has to be put back together and lubricated. All those little jewels we talked about, all the little gears, any place where two pieces of metal might rub, has to have some type of lubrication. There's multiple types of lubrication, anywhere from low viscosity or thin oils to a thicker grease. And these are the tools that are used to place all that onto the various little gears and so forth. Then once the watch is put together, it has to be demagnetized, and depending whether it's a quartz watch or a mechanical watch, then you put it on a time grapher for a quartz watch or a time grapher for a mechanical watch, and it will tell you how well the watch is running, how accurate it is, and so forth. Then all good watch repair people will always have various supplies on hand that they will use whenever they do watch repairs, so that they don't have to order stuff every time they work on a singular watch. So what can we expect for watches for the future? Well, many people feel that watches are becoming obsolete. They won't be around much longer. But I tend to disagree. We've been hearing that ever since the advent of the personal cell phone, where it had a clock on it or a timepiece on it, that it was going to do away with watches. But you're always going to have people like myself that really love watches. The ones that love to work on them, they have this obsession about the workings, the mechanics, and so forth. But you also have people, they buy watches and they wear them, but they wear it for jewelry. or bling, if you want to call it that. So in my view, watches are here to stay. Madam Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I would now like to introduce our esteemed friend, Dr. Lisa Lee, aka Lisa. All right. The speech will be Toastmasters' New Pathways program, bringing great value. Lisa Lee has a passion for education and communication, which led her to Toastmasters, the organization dedicated to developing leadership skills. She is a three-time distinguished Toastmaster and was awarded Division Director of the Year in 2016. Today, she will share the benefits of Pathways, the learning management system used by Toastmasters International to develop superior communication and leadership skills. Please welcome Dr. Lisa Lee.
Thank you very much, Veronica, for the opportunity to present my pathway experience with you. Can I see a show of hands from you? Do you know when Toast District 40 introduced pathways? Just a hint, it's about 6 years ago. Yes, Veronica? It is February of 2018. And I remember excited to get started. Then I was frustrated. I told my son, Jerry, this online study is really difficult for me. Jerry said, Mom, just do it. You will not break the computer. Yep, I didn't break the computer. However, my second screen did fell off later and hit a table corner. Oh, but that's another story. So fast forward 6 years later, I have completed all 11 tasks. Yay! I will show you a timeline later in my presentation. So for today, what I would like to share with you is my pathways experiences, specifically like to cover 2 parts. Pathways overview for a lot of you might be just a review, but I would like to go through that. And then the second part will be some of the key learnings I have from my pathways experiences. So exactly what is pathways? It is the education system used by Toastmasters International to help members to improve your communication and leadership skills. It's online learnings. It is on your own pace. It is do it your own ways. And each project, it provides you skills, competencies, and new learnings, sometimes challenging, but to continue your improvement. So let's a quick look of pathways overview. There are 11 paths currently, and they each have their own symbol. And I love presentation mastery with a microphone. The 6th path that I have the check mark will be included in the new learning management system, which will be launched by Toastmasters International in the first half of 2024. So for the members who will be new members or selecting a new path, I strongly recommend you select one of these paths because you get more benefits out of it. So what are the benefits for you for this upcoming changes? First, you provide you easier access and update. Second one, you can access new LMS through mobile app. And the third one, I think the club officers would love it, especially Veronica, because the awards will be automatically submitted through Club Central and no longer a two-step process. Anyone have more than one club? If you do, like me, need to be careful regarding to this change. You want to make sure you submit the level approval to the clubs that you want them to receive the credit for your awards. Any questions on the update? So you might ask me, if I have one of the other 5 pass, what would happen? Nothing. You will be able to continue to do your pass and getting awards. It just don't look like the new learning management system. Any questions? Okay. So this is a slide that you can find it in d4d.toastmastersdistrict.org pathway page. The 11 pass, you can click on any one of your interests and you will get to the next page. So right now, we're going to click on Presentation Mastery. And it will take us to the Toastmaster International's website. So I just wanted to a quick high-level overview of a path using Presentation Mastery as the example. The purpose for the Presentation Mastery is to help you enhance your communication skills. So if communication is one of your major reasons of joining Toastmasters, strongly recommend to start with this path. Every path have 5 levels. So level 1 and 2 provide you to build a solid foundation and honing your skills. And level 3, 4, and 5 provide you more challenging projects to work on. You also have all the elective projects that you can further enhance your skills, competencies, and your knowledge of pathways or on the paths that you have. So just a quick, selectively go through some of the paths quickly. So for both current members or aspiring Toastmasters, your very first speech is called Icebreaker. 4 to 6 minutes to introduce yourself to us. The second speech is writing a speech with purpose. As a speaker, it is important for us to remember we have the privilege of serving the audience when we take the stage. To effectively present our speech, you want to have a clear purpose in your mind. So my purpose today for this presentation is to help every audience member to gain a better understanding of pathways and to share with you my pathways experience to persuade, inspire, or aspire you to be a Toastmaster or to work on your pathways project. It is important to write a speech, every speech, with a purpose in mind. And the next project, project 3, focus on introducing vocal variety and body language. The fourth one will be evaluation and feedback. You got to learn how Toastmasters do evaluations. Then you will do a speech, get the feedback, incorporate the feedback into your repeated speech or new speech. So a quick sum up for level 1, 4 projects, 5 speeches, plus an evaluation project. Level 2, first project, you got to understand your communication or leadership styles. You also get to learn about Toastmasters mentoring, how to be a better mentor, how to be a better mentee. Level 3, you have 1 required project and just 2 elective projects from a whole list of projects. Like to point out some of the more practical ones. For example, deliver social speeches. You can jump over here anytime if you need to deliver social speeches. Another one, perhaps, prepare for an interview. And all these projects are available to you. You can do all of them, but you just need 2 to complete the level. Any questions so far? Okay. Level 4, I love talking about this required project. It's called Managing a Difficult Audience. It was a challenging project. We learned to manage different type of disruptors in the meeting. The several times that I have done or experiences, I always thought, it's a really fun project for the audience. Then you select one of the elective project. I will talk about how one of my write a comparing blog later. In level 5, the first project in presentation mastery, you prepare for professional 18 to 20 minutes speech. You learn to do it. And then you do one of the elective project, then you reflect on your tasks. Any questions with this high-level update? No? Great. So overall, for each pass, there are 5 levels, 15 projects. Let's do a math. If you do 1 project per club per month, how long will it take you to complete a path? 15 months. That means by next May, a year from this year, 2025, if you just started this month, you will complete 1 whole path. It's doable. If you have 2 clubs, like I do, you can complete it in 7.5 months. And at one point in my career, I decided that I was going to do 1 project per club per month. So I got to finish it very quickly. That's the overview. Let's jump into my pathways journey. So this is my timeline. 2019 completed 2 paths, 20, 1 pass, 21, 3 pass, 22, 2 pass, and 23, 3 pass. And I have so much fun doing it, as you're going to see. So remember, part of the reason I was able to do this book because I have multiple clubs. And why did I do the different paths? Because for each path, I learned new skills, new challenges, and I love to continue to be a student and learning and improving. I like to share 3 stories. The first one, understanding my communication styles. The first time I did this communication style project, it happened to be right after I had a frustrating meeting with one of my coworkers. So from this table, I learned if you are dealing with communication style, the different styles, This is how you respond to them. So I had a huge aha. I thought, okay, you probably guessed that I'm a more a direct communicator. So when I ask a specific question, I expect a specific short answers. My coworker, she is more like an initiating communicators. When I ask a question, she started responding this way. She would say, this is how we started from the very beginning. Okay. So after I learned about this, I learned be patient, allow them to express their feelings and opinions. I happened to have a follow-up meeting with my coworker after I learned about this. So what I did, I keep my mouth shut, allow her time to respond and answer the questions, express her opinions, express her concerns. We had a very productive meeting. So it worked. But from here, I also learned my boss is more like an analytical communicator. So I always try to present information to them in an organized manner. I remember we all have different communication styles mixed. So you have a dominant one, but you might have a minor one, adjusting to the different communicator styles. So this is a tremendous start learning for me, because from then on, I learned and became a better communicator by just be patient, allow other people time to respond. During my strategic relationship path, I have several key learnings. The first one, I learned to do speeches strategically to match the seasons. And I use PowerPoint presentation more frequently to enhance speeches. I even include short, specific clips to enhance my presentations. I like to share part of 2 presentations. You guess that this is a fall presentations. And I talk about a lot of first, my first Halloween, well, my first Thanksgiving in the United States. And because it's near Halloween, so share this joke. What does a skeleton laugh? When does a skeleton laugh? When something tickles his funny bone. Perfect. There's several more. Love this. And the next one, I'm going to share with you the initial presentation, which is this one. Sip your tea, nice and slow. Here we go. No one ever knows when it's time to go. There will be no time to enjoy the glow. So sip your tea, nice and slow. Life is too short, but feels pretty long. There's too much to do, so much going wrong. And most of the time, you struggle to be strong before it's too late and it's time to go. Sip the tea. Nice and slow. And the last project I'd like to share with you is when I was doing my visionary communicator presentation. I asked my club members what are their visions and how they would accomplish them. Asking and thinking about the question, I came up with my vision is to create an unpublished YouTube channel to document all my documents. And that's when I started recording my regular speeches. And this is what I had a lot of fun doing it. And I even created an Excel sheet to organize my YouTube link according to my pathway path and the pathway project. And this is how part of how I prepare for this presentation. Because I go through my recordings, I watch my presentations, and I realize my speaker's journey is fantastic. So wonderful presentations and so much to do. Okay, so last thing to share quickly, I have a blog called Today is a New Day, a New Life. It's a reflection on the run and or walk each day for 8 days, and that's a required project. I normally walk around on my neighborhood or Marysville Upground Reservoir. So when we first started walking that morning, and this is the change. So how often do you see this? It is the right moment, the right place, the right mindset. It is a now when you pay attention. If you are interested, these are my blog. So most importantly, to you, to do everything in life, the key is enjoy what you are doing the way you want to do it. So I hope I have persuaded you and have provided you enough pathways information that you will consider your next step or action item is to think about where you stand now on your journey and how you want to move forward. With that said, I'd like to encourage you to think about that and to move forward. If you are aspired to be a Toastmaster, join TV Toastmasters. I'd like to leave you with this last positive affirmation. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Madam Toastmaster.
For our agenda, the next on our agenda is our general evaluator, who happens to be me this time. And I would like to ask if anybody has any comments or words of encouragement for Ron Keim, please either raise your hand or raise your hand electronically in the reaction section of your screen. Click on that and you can raise your hand electronically. All right, Janet, please.
I really enjoyed your speech, Ron, especially since I recently had to try to get batteries for several watches and have stories with that. And one of the stories is I have a necklace watch that was my mom's, pulled it out of the jewelry box, and I was able to get a battery put in that and it actually works. So it was interesting to find out when pendant watches first were worn. And also I liked when you talked about some watch repair people use pegwood to clean their watches. And it made me think about how lots of time with my cleaning that I have to do around the house, if I have something really small, I'll use a toothpick. So it was just kind of interested in the pegwoods and just really enjoyed your overview of the watchmaking.
Thank you so much, Janet. David
Thank
Ash,
you.
you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. Just a very quick comment on Ron's speech. I thought it was a very well-structured speech. I thought it was a great introduction introducing the general concept of horology before delving more specifically into watch repair. So very well structured, easy to follow. So it's not a great speech.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, David. All right, I just Joe Schwerling, if you would like to make a comment.
You're on mute.
Sorry. Am I on mute? No.
You're good. You're good, Joe. We can hear
Okay.
you.
Excellent speech about time. Time's always been a significant technical part of my life and things, time and numbers, and I never knew so much about all the detail. I couldn't even imagine now the complexity of the interior watches and all these little tools and all that. So that's the greatest technical documentary presentation I've seen on any particular subject. So really appreciated it. My as it's evolved, I used to wear watches all the time. I felt uncomfortable without one, but at the same time, it bothered me having something dragging on one arm. Now my little flip phone, that serves the purpose, and it's my alarm at the same time. So it takes the place of a watch and a wife. So anyway, I'm now retired, so I can start attending Saturday morning meetings. I quit Castellini after 2.5 years as of the end of January. And I just basically forgot about the meeting till a little bit before it started. I kept thinking about, well, when is the next Thursday meeting coming up? And all of a sudden it occurred to me, oh, there's Saturday meetings too. And it turned out this was the right one. Anyway, glad to see you all and such a nice crowd. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And I saw you're re-retired, so congratulations.
After 20 years on the first go round.
Yeah, excellent. Very good. Well, I would like to now turn to, oh, Steve, yes, please.
Yeah, I'd like to say what I really liked was the introduction that Veronica read. And Ron, I would think that you probably submitted that to her, but it gave me a good feel for what I was going to hear in your speech. And you have an obvious passion for your topic. Now, I'm thinking for me, as a point of taking this speech to the next level, it felt like there were a lot of details, and I'm not mechanically minded like Joe is. So it seemed like a lot of information for me to absorb. So I might, if it were me, I would think about maybe dividing this up into 2 or 3 speeches. One is talking about the history of watches. That's an interesting topic. One is talking about repairing watches, which you kind of left towards the end. And another is the future of watches, and I think I saw in the notes, Lisa said maybe add stories. And I think if you split it up in 3 different speeches, then you add more personal stories on what you're trying to accomplish there. But good information. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Steve. All right, I'm going to steal a little bit of Joy's thunder here and say, have you ever tried eating a clock? Very time consuming.
Yeah.
I would now like to turn it over to our grammarian, David Ash. David?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, Madam General Evaluator. We did not do table topics, at least not up to now. I don't know whether it's on the agenda. So I really just have 2 speakers to evaluate from the grammarian perspective. Ron Keim and Dr. Lisa Lee. Both are extremely experienced speakers, so I really don't have a lot to say in terms of filler words. I think Ron used "and" a few times as perhaps a filler word, and once, but in a long speech, not much to comment on there. Dr. Lee used "okay" once, but that was really all the filler words there. For Ron, I thought use of horology, I mentioned it as a good structure for the speech in the evaluations, but I thought it was really good word usage as well. I learned a new word, and it's an interesting word. So I'm really, really glad on that. For Dr. Lee, I thought there were several good examples of positive word usage. Some of them are taken from the pathways, but I think you chose good words. So for example, the pathway you chose was presentation mastery. And I loved the word mastery, and that really stood out more than the other paths because that word says, okay, I'm going to master something if I learn this. Good word usage. Nothing you took from the paths, but you repeated it several times. A speech needs to be with purpose, and you emphasize purpose, and I like that. That's the fact you emphasize that word purpose. And finally, I liked your use of the poems near towards the end. So that was, again, good word usage. That's all I have. Great speeches and not much to say grammar-wise from our two very experienced speakers. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. Great job. Thank you, David. All right, I'd like to turn it over to Jeff for the timing report.
Thank you. Today was a symbiosis of horology and pathology. I don't know. The Ron speech was 10 minutes and 38 seconds. Lisa, you were 22:34, and the round robin evaluation was 5 minutes. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, you all have made my job as general evaluator very easy. I will say this meeting has been a real joy. And what happens when you annoy a clock? It gets ticked off. Sorry.
Got to remember some of these.
The reason I'm telling jokes is I had a joke and I couldn't remember it. So of course I started looking him up. I still can't remember it, but maybe somebody else does. It's about a guy who works in a calendar factory, and he does something and he gets fired. And it's something about taking a day off, I think it is. So, okay. For the general evaluator report, we started on time. Our president opened up the club meeting. Of course, we skipped table topics today. So Veronica or anybody else who's not a Toastmaster, they usually we have an opportunity for guests to speak, and this time we didn't. But join me, we'll open it up at the end for comments. So please stick around. And of course, these meetings are recorded. They are on our YouTube channel, which Jeff Vaught has been really, really good about continuing that practice. And he's our club coach. I wanted to just thank everybody for really an excellent, superb job. Dr. Lisa Lee, you knocked it out of the park. I had asked her if she could show the value to somebody about why Toastmasters is such an economically valuable opportunity. Because for me, I joined a company club, and when I joined the company club, I didn't know anything about Toastmasters. It was my first time. We were just a new club, but I learned all the different volunteer positions that we hold in Toastmasters correlate to corporate roles. So you get your training in leadership. You could lead volunteers. You could lead anybody if you have clout, right? The second thing is these pathways. Some of these certifications that you get through pathways, you would be spending thousands of dollars. And the advantage of Toastmasters is that you're going to be giving a speech every month, every week, just depending, on what the club does. And the opportunity to hone your communication skills on a regular, recurring basis is so much better than just a weekend or weekend course that costs you a lot of money. And I think it's about $60 every 6 months. So if you're in a corporation that will pay for your education, the other thing in a corporate club, we could add that to our yearly performance plan. And we would have the president or the vice president, whatever, to speak to the value of Toastmasters, because of course, as people are moving up the corporate ladder, if they choose to, then they're going to be needing to give more presentations, and they're also going to be needing to give good evaluations that are fair and balanced. All right, that's enough for me. I know we're going to be a little bit limited on time, so I'd now like to turn it over to our Toastmaster, and now I would like to turn it over to Joy Harris. One quick thing. One of the things, it's an interesting symbiosis, but I will say that in Toastmasters, we really do try to respect others' times, other people's time, and begin on time and end on time. But we will probably be sticking around afterwards too, in case you want to chat. Back to you, Joy. Excuse me, Madam President.
Thank you, Veronica. And thank you for giving us a little bit more about the pathways and the value of the education and the value of being a member of the Toastmasters Club. I have found this club to be a symbiotic relationship between our evaluators and our speakers. I wouldn't be the president if I didn't end up with a little grin. And Veronica, you had some great grins today, but I'd better tell this before it's too late, because this may be the last Super Bowl joke that you get. But it happened with a couple of friends of mine, and we were talking about whether we were going to watch the Super Bowl. And one of them said, well, I really only like halftime. And everyone agreed that's pretty good. And the other one said, well, I really only like the commercials. That happens. We thought that was okay. Somebody else said, I really like the snacks. That's all I really care about. But the final person said, I don't like any of it. I don't care about halftime, the commercials, or the snacks. I don't even care how many baskets they make. Yes. So I would like to wrap us up on time and thank everyone for coming. We will turn the recording off so that we can interact and talk to our guests.